Hello to all the beautiful people of the world's four nations. It is Monday, February 17th. Not really. We're doing this and dropping it on Sunday night because everyone's been so good. And this is a show called What Chaos, presented by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use What Chaos and get $50 instantly when you play $5. Prize Picks, run your game. My name is David Bean. I am joined by Pete Blackburn, and across the internet is Sean DePaz. Hello, everybody.
How are ya?
Hey, howdy.
How was Nashville?
Nashville was great. It was so great that I got some extra Nashville, and Montreal was so great that everyone who was in Montreal got some extra Montreal. Shout out Boston and everybody who has tried to get to Boston in the last couple of days. I believe all people who have intended to go to Boston by today are now in Boston. So that's very good. Saw some people, some Four Nations people that were going from Nashville to Boston. It's obviously been a mess weather-wise. Saw a lot of people drove from Montreal to Boston. I'm kicking myself. I kind of wish that as soon as my flight was canceled on Saturday, I got in a car and just did the 17-hour trip. It would have been so awesome. Could have stopped in like DC, watched USA Canada, been ready to drive for a million more hours after that through this lovely country we call America. That's how Nashville was.
Yeah, you definitely would have been energized by that game on Saturday night. That was definitely a sporting event where you watch it, and then as soon as it ends, you're like, okay, well, I'm not going to bed for the next like 3 hours because that's not possible. So it was a hell of a game. I'm glad you at least got to see it, because if you missed that, I would have held it over your head for all of eternity. That was like the best and most important game of my life for like the last 10 years.
Well, famously, I could not go to bed right after the game because I was in Tennessee, which was rife with tornado warnings. So I had to be up until 1 a.m. to get through Nashville's tornado watch. And the entire first period was overrun by local ABC's coverage of this tornado that may or may not have been happening. And it was very nerve-wracking. Eventually, this shows how much I love hockey, I was like, enough. And because it was the most of the screen was there's a tornado, and then a tiny bit on the side was hockey game. And they kept saying, now if you're tuning in for the hockey game, you can see it on the other side of the screen, but you need to please listen to what I'm saying. There's a tornado. And eventually I just busted out the iPad, hopped on ESPN Plus. I needed the full screen experience. So eventually just had to quiet that down, get away from all that. And I fell asleep right after the game anyway. And
well, folks, the real tornado is happening on the ice.
In the first 9 seconds of that game, brother, there was... I know that we're always supposed to move forward, and it's bad radio or TV or whatever to kind of dwell on game recap stuff. We're still going to do that today because that game ruled so much. So, Pete, why don't you tell the folks what we're going to do?
I would love to, because I don't have any interest in talking about anything other than that game for like till the second that the puck drops on Thursday night.
And after
the best game of my life. Yeah, pretty much. Today on What Chaos, this is the life. Yeah, it sure is, buddy. And everybody's talking, oh, there's still a game on Thursday. The USA's won the battle. They may not win the war. Shut the fuck up. That was the best game of my life. We're talking about that game. Packing light, question mark? I know what that's in reference to. It's a question about Did Canada pack too light on this trip to the Four Nations face-off? Because that's a question that people should be asking. And third, they're watching. I assume that is in reference to uh, everyone, because
People.
everyone watched that game. People watched that game, and we'll talk about that. And finally, Tkachuks, obviously, because the Tkachuks, American heroes, obviously.
Running this tournament, and as we usually do, we usually lay out, here's what we're talking about, and typically there's some sort of intended order of, we'll talk about this thing for 10 minutes, and then this thing for 10 minutes. But then once the things are up and it says on the screen what we're going to be talking about, I get re-excited about some of the topics, and I'm like, I just want to talk about that now. Just quickly, I want to say, how did none of us get a Tkachuk jersey for this tournament? We have 4 total jerseys, right? Between the 3 of us?
No, 3 total, right? Because I didn't get my
I
USA
have
one.
2 Canada jerseys because I'm a psycho. I have a Brad Marchand and I have a blank. Shout out Fanatics for hooking it up. And I've got famously a Jack Eichel, which is kind of like the closest thing to a Tkachuk jersey one of us could have. You have a very sweet Sasha Barkov. And Sean, of course, has the captain, Austin
the
Matthews.
Pride of Scottsdale, Arizona, Austin Matthews was the main reason I got it.
That's right. I was watching Saturday's game with someone who's relatively new to hockey. They were very impressed by the Austin Matthews is from Arizona storyline. It's very fascinating.
That's a wild thing to be impressed by that night.
Oh, it was overtaken by other events that
Okay.
happened. Tornadoes and hockey and otherwise. But yeah, it's crazy that none of us got specifically a Matthew Tkachuk jersey. That's the one opportunity that myself, as someone who suffered a Stanley Cup final loss to the Panthers, yourself as a diehard Bruins fan, like, we all have reasons to be like, get Matthew Tkachuk out of my face, even though all 3 of us love and respect the hell out of him. This was the freebie that we could do. No one can get mad at us.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I would say the same thing about Austin Matthews, but it still feels like a little weird. I will say it's definitely better to have him on your side. It rocks to be able to root fully and unabashedly for the Tkachuks and everything that they bring to the game. But yeah, I mean, I think that you're right. We all kind of land in the same camp when it comes to the Tkachuks. It's like, we are Tkachuk respecters, but God, it is really fucking annoying to have to face him going up against your team because of how much you respect him and because of what he's able to do, both in the NHL and the Stanley Cup playoffs and clearly in this international tournament.
Yeah, I mean, rooting for Matthew Tkachuk's country is the best because you know that he's going to be the ultimate Matthew Tkachuk, especially in a non-IAHF sanctioned event. So this has just been a great time to watch Matthew and Brady Tkachuk. We'll talk about both of them later. But as today is Monday, February 17th in the United States and Canada, there is one more day of Four Nations games before we reach Thursday's final, and a lot can happen. Obviously, we know that the United States has already clinched a berth in the final, so they will play at home at TD Garden on Thursday. And Sean, if you would, give us the clinching scenarios, because today there's 2 more games. As I said, you got USA playing again. They're going to be taking on Sweden, and then Canada plays Finland, and this is a big one because Canada can clinch a spot in the final if they can just beat Finland in regulation. Not a given that Canada famously has not won in regulation in this tournament. Or Canada could get to the final if they defeat Finland in an overtime or shootout and there's any result of USA-Sweden other than a regulation win by Sweden. So some fun stuff there where the USA can kind of help keep Canada out of there. Finland, I'll say the darlings of the tournament, they can clinch a spot in the final if they defeat Canada in regulation, or if they defeat Canada in overtime and a shootout, and you get any other result in that second game, then a win by Sweden. So those are actually pretty straightforward. And then Sweden clinches a spot in the final if it defeats USA in regulation, and the Canada-Finland game goes to overtime. That's all it's needed. Doesn't matter if it's decided in overtime, if it's decided in a shootout, as long as those 2 teams play past regulation and Sweden beats the USA in regulation, they're in. Pete, we've got more USA Canada stuff we want to chew on, but what do you want out of these games tomorrow? Today,
Well,
famously, it's the 17th.
Well, I feel like I'm put in a really difficult spot here because I obviously want the USA Canada rematch on Thursday, especially going to be in that building. It's going to be the event of a lifetime, and the rematch has even more juice than anybody could have expected. But God, it would be so fucking funny if Finland beat Canada. It would be
Yes.
so funny. It would be incredible. The team that everybody was like, oh yeah, this team is by far the weakest. They're not going to get a point. They're not going to get a win. They're not going to get shit. Their defense wouldn't even be a good NHL defense, and they're going up against best on best. Oops, whoops. They beat Canada, and they're in the final here against USA. That would be fucking hilarious, but it would kill me inside to not get to watch another installment of USA Canada.
Yeah, you need another installment of that USA Canada rivalry. It's amazing. But we said from the jump, when these rosters were revealed, we all said we were fans of Finland. We were Finland fans. And yeah, people have been disrespecting them at every turn. No one on this show has. Nothing but some Finland respecters across the board. If they were to get to the final, even though it might be relatively easy work, I'll say they played USA tight for 2 periods. So don't you sleep on Finland. We will be having a watch party today, Monday, February 17th at Hurricanes across from the Garden. So if you're going to the game, if you're going to the USA game and you want to hang out before, come watch the game with us. And you know what? If you're not going to the game and you just want to hang out, a very fun thing to do. It's a little reckless as far as transportation goes because it's always going to be packed. Going to the area and catching the game there just has a different energy. So if you want to stop by, watch Canada-Finland with us, we will be hanging out. I'm with you though, Pete. Deep down, we all know we want USA Canada in the final so we could get more of what we got Saturday night. That epic in which USA beat Canada 3-1. Just fantastic. Do you have any lingering thoughts? I haven't been able to get any of mine out because I've just been kind of tucked away in the South. But do you have any lingering thoughts from that masterpiece of a game?
I mean, all my initial thoughts are still lingering because I'm just thinking about everything that happened in this game and everything that it means. It's just my biggest like lingering takeaway is just how good it is for the game. And I know that's such a cliche, like overarching take to have, but it just feels so good as like a hockey fan, especially an American hockey fan, where we're constantly trying to battle for please like our sport. Like it's so cool. We love it so much. Wish that it would get more notoriety. Wish that more people would talk about it on a big scale outside of just the Stanley Cup playoffs. My big takeaway from Saturday night was just how excited everyone was to be watching that game, even if they weren't like big hockey fans. Having the entire timeline consumed by like thoughts and excitement over USA Canada was just like a very special moment.
Okay, we're going to do that a little later, but I mean, you just kind of got into it, so I'm with you. Everybody's watching Four Nations. The ratings are way up on regular season NHL hockey. People are watching it, and you mentioned the timeline. When I'm seeing Bill Simmons tweet about the first period of USA Canada, you had to be watching from the beginning to know what happened. Like Bill Simmons, and not that Bill Simmons is the end-all be-all, but I mean, he is I respect him as not just a sports fan, but as a watcher of stuff. And Bill Simmons said, you know what, Saturday night, NBA All-Star Game festivities is going on, skills competition. Mr. NBA, Bill Simmons, said, you know what, I think I'll be doing the hockey. And who was rewarded for that? Bill Simmons, because he saw 3 fights in 3 fights in 9 seconds. And you have him tweeting about just throw in the towel. NBA, stop showing whatever you're showing. No one cares about it. I saw so many non-hockey fans, non-core hockey fans, obviously people who are fans of hockey, but they prefer other sports. It was a given that they were going to be watching on Saturday night. Like that, this already had so much juice that some people I know who are bigger basketball fans, but also like hockey, no doubt in my mind, they're watching USA Canada because they've seen some of this tournament already because they're hockey fans and they're hooked. I don't know a single person who's watched this and said, not for me. And I know that a lot of people went into it asking questions about the classic, is Ekholm going to light up McDavid? Are they going to be trying? Are they going to care that much? And I was talking to somebody in hockey today, and he reminded me, he was like, these guys, like players and non-American players care so much about the national stuff that imagine if you're on a team that's not really going anywhere. And in the middle of the season, you get to play for your country. You are going to go balls to the wall. And with the exception of some giggles I saw after Canada-Sweden on the blue line, like everybody seems so into it and trying extremely hard. And that's carried into the fan base and the audience because it has just shot way up.
Yeah, and I mean, it's crazy that a game that was like 10 years in the making and considered largely like the most anticipated hockey game for like a decade lived up to and exceeded the hype. And that's huge for the sport based off of how many people tune in. Because if it was a dud, people would have been like, fuck hockey, I'm out on this for till the next big one 10 years down the line or whatever it was. But also another element of that is that it also does such a good job setting the table for like not just the Olympics, but the World Cup of Hockey, because a big takeaway that I had last night is that you're not going to get that kind of game in the Olympics because the IIHF and its fucking baby diaper filling, nobody gets to fight, nobody gets to be super physical. We're going to play on big ice and it's all going to be skill. That's great. That's fine. I love the Olympics. I really do. And I think that has its place. But the World Cup of Hockey under NHL rules where you get to inject some fucking nastiness and really, really fuel the rivalry and have these teams try to fucking kill each other and have it be allowed, that deserves a place too in the international spectacle of things. And it's very, very cool that we're going to start getting that in 2-year spurts alternating, both having a place at the table.
Back when I was a beat writer, I heavily beat the drum of staged fighting is stupid. And I have never, as a fan, as anything in hockey, liked stage fighting. It's just stupid. And there's been some moments where a team is struggling and off the first face-off, they got their buddy to agree to fight with them, so they fight and it gives their team a little oomph, and I say, all right, well, there, I see the purpose for it, but I am still officially staged fighting is stupid. As I say this, I am officially staged fighting is stupid. That was the best staged fighting ever in hockey in the history of the world, and staged fighting had a place in this, and for a crybaby who wants his hockey the way he wants his hockey, I was so satisfied. And you raised the question that we both know the answer to. Can the Olympics live up to this when they're adhering to IIHF rules? The answer is so no. You're not going to get this again until the World Cup of Hockey. So enjoy the Olympics. You're going to get more countries, which is fantastic because the biggest knock on this tournament is it doesn't have, like, not only does it not have all the countries, it kind of like doesn't have the countries, but what it's missing there, it more than makes up for in really Canada and USA propelling this with so much hate. It's amazing.
Yeah, 100%. And like the stage fighting thing, like I agree with you. I mean, like I'm not as anti stage fighting as you are, but like that to me, I know that it was staged, but it didn't feel like stage fighting because those guys were literally trying to knock each other's heads off. I think that they were legitimately trying to murder each other on the ice. And stage fighting, more times than not, it's guys having a like 70%, 60 to 70% tilt. They'll give each other a tap on the ass, thank each other for going with
their
each
friend.
Other. Yeah. And this one, no, they were nasty. And sure, like can make the argument that not a lot of the punches connected, which is probably a good thing because they would have had to pause the game for 45 minutes for an ambulance to be out there. But
for JT Miller,
well, JT Miller bit off a little bit more than he could chew.
He kept getting up. You idiot. He kept getting up. So
how do you not? How do you
And that
not
one,
get
by the
up,
way,
though? You can't follow both Tkachuk fights and then just get, like, tossed around and be like, "Okay, I've done my best here." No, he basically had to go until he was pounded into the ice.
and in fairness to him, that one wasn't staged. That one was just, they were all just so jazzed up after those two fights.
That one
Really, you
was
can
a
argue
that one
that
was a little staged because, Miller and Parayko were going after each other, at the face-off dot when Brady went with Bennett. And they just Miller just wasn't able to go with Parayko in that moment, and then, like, 5 seconds later, he gets his chance.
yeah, I mean, the only one that I'll even say is like officially stage is the first Kachuk one. And obviously Brady's was okay, well, hey, well, once these guys are done, we're going. That I think the game is the things are happening.
Hmm.
Things are happening. So there I give a little I give a little grace, but yeah, you're right in that staged fighting awfully often can be a friendly thing. There were no friends there. That was real. Like it was staged because there were 6 guys lining up to get in fights, and fortunately, they were able to find partners.
Wanna know another big takeaway of mine, from that whole debacle?
Yes,
Jordan Binnington, big time baby back bitch. The
yes.
guy's
Didn't
been
even fight.
begging to fight for his entire NHL career, has an unreal opportunity to start some shit and give, and honestly, that would probably give the momentum back to Canada after the Tkachuks just completely seized it off the opening draw. If Binnington fought somebody on USA, you're telling me that Canada wouldn't be absolutely juiced?
I mean,
Just he didn't want it.
no, Bennington fought on Saturday. Let's
Yeah,
be clear.
fought his demons in between the pipes.
Fought the puck, which the Binnington thing, and we're jumping all over the place now, but like the Binnington thing is a mind fuck because he's made some really good saves in this tournament. He's been really good at points, and if he was going to make the regular saves that he made in that game, he should have shut out USA because both of the goals he allowed were fucking horrible.
Yeah, they weren't good, especially the Gensel one. Like, uh, Canada gets the first goal. They draw first blood, and it kind of zaps the initial momentum out of the Americans. And then you give up a horrible goal, 5-hole on a pretty weak shot. It's that was an unexcusable goal to give up.
I was watching Petey's breakdowns of all of the goals, which make sure you're following Steve Peters and get him everywhere on YouTube. His videos, he put out a video that was all the goals from Saturday's game, like full breakdowns, and it didn't have nearly the numbers it deserved. So everybody get there. It's just because his YouTube page is young, but this is something that everybody should be watching. Every hockey fan and
Yeah.
anyone who's just getting into this tournament. But on the Gensel goal, because he does such a thorough breakdown, he's like, now here's where Canada sort of things start to break down for Canada. And I'm like, Petey, stop. Things broke down for them, yes. But say what you want to say, which is all this being said, this idiot should make a fucking save. And I'm sorry for calling Jordan Binnington an idiot. And he does, yes, he does say, like, and this is one that Binnington should want back. Petey is a lot more professional than I am. He has a very thorough breakdown of the entire play. Really, my favorite breakdown that he had was on the McDavid goal because, boy, oh boy, did Gensel chunk it there. Just like, I mean, the guy leads the tournament in points, so it's all's well that ends well. But anyway, yeah, not good from Binnington. How will we handle, since we are on the topic of everybody watching this game and getting into it, how do we handle people being excited about a hockey thing and us not needing to say, please watch this?
I mean, I haven't given that a second of thought. Like, it doesn't bother me. Like, I don't change any part of what my approach is.
You
It's
can't blow
just
it, though.
in
We
terms
finally
of, like,
got
the
people.
rest of the tournament. Yeah. Well,
Like,
that's
like when
why
you see someone who's excited about it, don't be like, oh, yeah, and there's also, but just be like, oh, I think I checked out that game. Just like be cool.
no, no. Excitement is contagious.
Mhm.
So I think that I'm not gonna like be talking about like the possession numbers with any of these people, and like Jordan Binnington's goal saved above expected numbers based off of what we've seen in this tournament. But it's cool to have people on board at least for like the next 4 days until the final comes. Like that's a big reason why I feel like we need the rematch for USA Canada. It's not just for like my own wants and needs. It's for the people that are now on board that want another opportunity to be involved in something like that on Thursday night.
Another thing I love about the next 4 days is that they happen to be the tastiest season yet. This week is the tastiest season yet. And if it plays its cards right, week after that too, kick it down to 3 weeks. And I think you see where I'm going with this. You can make every season the tastiest yet with HelloFresh, because you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. You can skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. It's easy to find time to eat well with 50 wholesome, hassle-free meals to choose from each week, delivered to your door. HelloFresh's new ready-made meals go from the fridge to your fork in just how many minutes? 3. It's the same high-quality ingredients and restaurant-worthy flavor you expect from HelloFresh, just with none of the work. Their lineup of prep and bake meals come together with minimal mess and only 5 minutes of prep, so your oven does most of the work, not you. I love that. Hey, you can get up to 10 free meals and a free high-protein item for life at HelloFresh.com/Chaos10FM. 1 item per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as discount on first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's up to 10 free HelloFresh meals. Just go to HelloFresh.com/Chaos10FM. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit.
Also want to talk to you about our friends at Bauer. Bauer's been a huge part of our lives over the past week or so, actually for longer than that, but especially the past week or so. They're sponsoring that event at Hurricanes that we're doing maybe while you're listening to this right now. They've been sponsoring our post-game streams for the Four Nations, and they've got an incredible sale page going on at Bauer.com right now. You can head over there and you find discounted products, including skates, sticks, protective gear, and apparel that caters to players of all levels. You can also get premium hockey equipment known for its durability, its quality, its performance, and the seasonal deals and clearance items are off the charts. That includes 30% off Nexus Sync and Easton S17 sticks, 40% off select skates, 25% off select helmets, and up to 50% off select apparel styles and collabs. And while you're there, while you're on that sales page, you can also get a free shipping code courtesy of us, free ship WC, to save even more money. Free ship WC. So head to Bauer.com and hit that sales page. You will not regret it.
Okay, this is what we do when Canada doesn't do so well in an international tournament. We talk about who was there and who wasn't there. And before we start yapping about Tom Wilson, I would like to ask you a question about the defense on Canada, and that would be, how much do you feel they missed Cale Makar, who is out with illness, on Saturday night?
I mean, I don't think that Thomas Harley played bad by any means.
I thought he was
just
their
like,
best defenseman.
I don't know. I
I
don't
thought
know
he
if
was
he was their
awesome.
best defenseman. He was good, and like to the
Yeah.
point where you can say that they didn't miss Cale Makar, but you'd be wrong because he's fucking Cale Makar. He's one of the 2 best defensemen in the entire world, and when you have a tough time generating offense, yeah, you want that guy at the top of the zone facilitating and creating. So of course they miss Cale Makar, but it is kind of crazy that you've got a game that lived up to all that hype, and both teams were missing their best defensemen, who are probably the 2 best defensemen in the world, with Quinn Hughes on the American side and Cale Makar on the Canadian side.
And isn't it wild, though? Because what you said is correct, that they're both missing their quote-unquote best defenseman. I don't think that Cale Makar or even Quinn Hughes has been the most missed defenseman in this tournament. Alex Pietrangelo, I think, has been such a loss for Canada. And it's due in part, or it's due entirely, I'll be honest, to the goaltending. But USA can make do without Quinn Hughes. They are big and strong up front, and they have enough two-way defensemen. Like Zach Werenski's still putting up points, and like they have enough really, really good Noah Hannafin two-way defensemen on the back end that obviously missing maybe the best defenseman in the league this season is like hurts, but they're not as hurt by it as Canada is by missing not Cale Makar, but Alex Pietrangelo. Like that is the biggest absence, I feel.
I mean, that's a fair point, and I mean, it also, like, we haven't talked about how good of a game USA played defensively yet. Like, that was an A-plus defensive effort, with the exception of one play where you let the best player in the world turn on the Jets and just kind of split you down the middle. That defensive effort from the American group was so good that it almost worries me, because I don't know if they can replicate it. That's how good of a game they played. Like, you got a guy that we haven't talked about a ton. Charlie McAvoy played probably the best game that he's played in 2 full years.
Yeah, like
actual
good.
years.
And I think that he caught a little too much flack for that McDavid goal. He turned a split second too late. If you do anything not perfect against Connor McDavid, especially like when he's like coming through the neutral zone and into the offensive zone, like everything is going to be your fault no matter what. So like, is that his fault? Yes, the play is probably more Jake Gensel's fault, but I don't think that Charlie McAvoy like fucked up on that play. I do think that he definitely took it personally because he locked the hell in after and then played the game of his life. So like, look, if you know anything about Charlie McAvoy, the book on him is international games. Yes.
Yeah.
Other games, still one of the better defensemen in the league, but this is where
Not with the same
this is
intensity
usually
and
what
the
is
same physicality.
yeah, like this is usually his time to shine. And yeah, you're right. He was the balls on Saturday. So that's the defense talk. Now let's do the classic. Did Canada pack tough enough? Pack heavy enough? Were they missing some of that Tom Wilson sandpaper on Saturday night?
I mean, maybe, but like, when you consider the fact that all of the fights and stuff happened in the first 10 seconds, you played 59 minutes and 50 seconds of hockey the rest of the way. And that's not to say that like Tom Wilson doesn't have a place on that roster as a hockey player, but do I think that it like materially changes the way that that game is played the rest of the way? No, I don't. And like I said, the USA played a 10 out of 10 defensive game, and I don't think that Tom Wilson in his presence does enough to change that, and I don't think it really changes the outcome there.
Yeah, I think that you're more than one Tom Wilson away from getting whatever identity change you would seek there. I think that if you're Canada, you just have to settle for having most of the best players in this tournament. Like the horror that had like their identity is Connor McDavid. That's what you're doing, and you're doing the McKinnon and the McDavid. Like your thing is you are so skilled offensively, so painfully skilled offensively, still really good defensively, even though you're obviously banged up, and you're gonna need to outscore your problems. I don't know if Tom Wilson's a great player, but I don't think like one Tom Wilson changes the result. So I
Yeah,
think Canada
especially
wishes
in
they were tougher, but
yeah.
not at the expense of changing your identity, because the identity they have still is a very enviable one.
Yeah, but I also don't know if Tom Wilson like straight up changes their identity. He's just a player that gets plugged in and brings an element that maybe they wish they had a little bit more of in that particular game. But Tom Wilson doesn't change the goaltending. Tom Wilson doesn't really affect the A-plus game that you got from USA. And Tom Wilson also doesn't change, most likely, the fact that you got a bad game from Sidney Crosby wearing a Team Canada jersey, which, when was the last time we've seen that? It comes on the heels of Sidney Crosby being like, guess what, bitches? I'm back. I'm still a problem when I wear this jersey. He played a bad game and had a horrible turnover that led to a goal that ends up being the difference in this game, the game-winning goal for Larkin. Like, that's something that I don't think anybody saw coming.
Can I give one more Canada thought before we talk about the Tkachuks for a few minutes?
Yeah.
I think I take back my thoughts on the Canada jersey. I
So you
still
don't like
love
them?
it for wearability, but it doesn't play as well. It just does not as the off-white cream, the whatever, and Sean, you can jump in here. I don't think it plays as well as if that were a crisp white. I think that it's missing that brightness. And I've been sitting on this for days, had to tell somebody, I'm telling you to.
I don't mind. I don't mind it. My only complaint about
Yeah.
any of these jerseys is the USA wearing white helmets. I think it's by far the biggest mistake. Otherwise, like you needed a red jersey, obviously for the four colors, and I think it still looks great. The font on the numbers does it for me on the Team Canada jerseys.
Actually,
I like the how like red it is, and the sharpness of the numbers are very like villain-esque type things and characteristics of this jersey. So I like the jersey. I have no problem with it. I disagree about the white helmets. The white helmets have become like a staple of USA hockey at the international level at this point. I like them. My only actually, I actually think the USA jerseys are much better than we gave them credit for it initially. I really like them out there. They look great. The backs and the numbers of them, the reds pop so well. My big complaint about the USA and the helmets is the cat sponsorship. The cat sponsorship is pretty ridiculous, especially in comparison to Canada, which has the best helmet sponsorship I've ever seen in my life. It's the red maple leaf with Tim Hortons on it. It's sort of like when you have a sponsorship that makes the jersey better, which I legitimately think that this makes the jersey better. That's pretty special.
but isn't it perfect for USA being like the tough guys and the like, hey,
Yeah.
like we're the everymen here. Like I saw the Kachucks talking to each other and I was like, that's just like the whole like if they didn't play hockey, what would they be doing? Like they probably wouldn't be construction workers, but they would be really, I think they both of them would be really happy to be construction workers and they'd be damn good at it. They would like take so
Yeah.
much pride in it. So
Most
it just
likely
felt good.
most likely they'd be terrorists. But I think that the white helmets with the cat logo on it they just look like hard hats on a construction site, and it's which is like, to your point, kind of lends to the identity that the USA is trying to give out there. So maybe it is a good fit.
Uh, One more jersey thing I would like to note is I think the USA, and I agree with you, USA jerseys are awesome. I think the captains C and assistant captain, alternate captains A's are not the best such detail on a jersey. Meaning, USA does not have the best C or A. I think maybe it's just a little oversized. Maybe that's it. Sean, give me a look at Matthias Ekholm right now, the Sweden jersey. The A's on the Sweden jersey, something about it is give me. I need.
That's
Is
a
it
crazy.
is
That's a
it just
crazy take.
Sean? Do I have anything here, Sean?
I think it's a crazy take because I don't think anything comes close to the American patch.
Yeah.
I think it's just so good. But I do like the Sweden jerseys are so good, and it reminded me how much I love the three crowns on a jersey. Um, I don't think the patches in particular compare, but I think you can make an argument that Sweden has the best jersey now that I've seen all four of them on the ice.
It's wild. Again, our jersey count for this tournament is 2 USA, 2 Canada. So we have 5 jerseys. We have 2 USA, we have 2 Canada, and we have 1 Finland. No Sweden. So maybe Sweden ends up winning this thing.
Man, if I could get my hands on a Rasmus Dahlin Sweden jersey, I would most certainly do it.
Well, brother, I've been seeing a lot of memes about Rasmus Dahlin getting to play with good teammates, and
I've also seen a lot
they're
of
all
people
funny.
talking about Rasmus Dahlin not getting to play as much as he should, which is a
Yeah,
whole other
that's
conversation. But we're not Swedish.
Okay,
I also think that
we are.
if we're talking about guys who are not playing as much as they should, Brad Marchand did not play very much in that USA Canada game, and that's crazy to me given the way that it was going, and also based off of the fact that that was their best line. in the first game with Jarvis and Point.
Yeah, no, Marchand has had it this tournament. We all
Yeah.
knew he would. And Braden Point, obviously, is a stud. Seth Jarvis rules. Those three clearly have chemistry. That was weird to me as well. And while we're mentioning guys that we should have mentioned at some point, just Connor Hellebuck is the best.
Oh
Connor
my God.
Hellebuck is that Connor Hellebuck is going to win Hart now, like via RL's thing, as a result of something that has nothing to do with the NHL regular season. Like people are gonna watch this tournament, and then when they cast their votes, they're gonna be like, "Yeah, Connor Hellebuck is clearly the best goalie by a lot."
Does this like
And
change
then
your
give him credit.
your like does this change like your view of Connor Hellebuck? Because like the last time that we've talked about Connor Hellebuck having to play big games, kind of stunk. He was a big disappointment in that first round series against Colorado. So, and that's the second year in a row where he hadn't been that good in the playoffs. So, like, there was starting to be a conversation about like, are you worrying about Connor Hellebuck in big games? So far in this tournament, he has looked so good and so calm, so collected, and been everything that you've wanted him to be.
And he has the best defenseman participating in this tournament playing in front of him.
Yeah.
And then 5 other studs. So like Connor Hellebuck behind an all-star group of defensemen is just disgusting, which is what USA's group is going to be pretty much everywhere, including goaltending, obviously. All right, let's talk about the Tkachuks, because the Tkachuks running this tournament, I know, is something that Sean had his eye on. We were in discussing best case scenarios for this tournament. I don't think any of us dreamed about the whole country of America falling in love with this tournament. We knew Canada would be into it. Didn't know about you. Like, this has been so much better than what we could have expected, because what we could have expected, the top of Sean's list was Tkachuks run this tournament. Sean, you've gotten what you wanted.
Yeah, this shit rocks to unimaginable levels. I wasn't even fully sure if they could fight coming into this tournament, so I didn't never imagine any of this. But like, just them being like brothers and doing fun brother shit. Like, you got the clip of them going into the box and Matthew asking Brady if his fight was good. Like, fighting aside, like that's the kind of shit I was hoping from the tournament. Little did I know that they would dominate the first game as like actual hockey players, and then dominate the second game as rats. Like, wildest dreams come true.
Yeah,
That's the most Tkachuk shit in the world. There's 3 players, boys, in this tournament with multiple goals. 2 of them are named Tkachuk. So like they're going off. Sean, you put it perfectly. Dominated hockey-wise against Finland, and then dominated as assholes against Canada. There you go. The Tkachuk experience.
Yeah, and it's like the element of them being brothers finally getting to play together is so much cooler when they act like brothers and they don't act like teammates. And they acted like brothers in the first 10 seconds of that game. You got Brady standing by 5 feet away, watching and screaming, cheering on Matt as he's fighting. Then Matt in the box, pounding on the glass, opening up the door and dapping him up as Brady comes into the penalty box. And then you get the mic'd up moment being like, that was pretty sick, right? How did I do? But bro, you did awesome. Like that is so much cooler than just acting like teammates and like quote unquote professionals. It's unreal. And how do you not fall in love with that? And I think I saw a bunch of Canadian people being like, God damn it. I wish they were Canadian. It sucks so much that this has to go up against us. But yeah, I don't think you could ask for anything more out of the first 2 games from those 2.
I think that Matthew Tkachuk, and I've almost tweeted this a few times, but I remember that a lot of my followers are lovely Oilers fans, and some of them are probably very serious Oilers fans who don't want anything but good Oilers stuff. I don't know if they want to hear, and yes, I'm pandering, I guess, when I'm afraid to tweet something, but I don't know if they want to hear somebody say that Matthew Tkachuk is just a dream ambassador for the game, but he really is. And it brings me to this that should be unrelated, but I'm going to relate it because it just all melts together for me. There was a David Staples tweet on Friday in which he shared he shared a Kurt Levins piece about superstars. And his tweet was, "Are Connor Hellebuck and Quinn Hughes superstars? Question mark. I say no. I say NHL only has 5 superstars. 1 in Toronto, 2 in Edmonton, and 2 in Colorado." And a lot of people got mad and they were saying, how could you think that Quinn Hughes isn't a superstar and everything? And I just kind of thought about my own short list. If I were to keep a short list of superstars, and mine really is probably like more like 7, 8, 9, 10 guys. But if I am trying to keep it to like 5 or 6, Matthew Tkachuk is one of them. And I know he plays in Florida, and I know that he doesn't have like the social media following of a Leon Draisaitl, but like I think that Matthew Tkachuk, man, is just right there. No?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, you have to preface this discussion by saying it is entirely dependent on what the definition of superstar is. Because if it's being talked about in a just like a hockey sense, there are like 15 to 20 superstars. But if you're
Right.
talking about from a general sense and like a celebrity sense that kind of just transcends hockey, Matthew Tkachuk is absolutely on that list. And it
And
probably is a short list because there are just not many guys in the NHL that general sports fans know without paying close attention to the NHL.
and I'm going to piss off so many people when I say this. Like, if that's your definition, I wonder if Matthew Tkachuk is more of a superstar than like Nathan McKinnon is. Just because Nathan McKinnon is like,
Probably.
that guy means business. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of elite great players, like top players who just mean business so much that they don't end up having the celebrity. And I'm sure they turn down commercials. Like, I'm sure Nathan McKinnon, if you want, could do a Super Cuts commercial or whatever Matthew Tkachuk is doing. But Matthew Tkachuk has the bravado. He obviously has all the mic'd up clips and everything. He, not single-handedly, but his arrival made a team way more relevant and eventually Stanley Cup champions. It took 2 years to do that. Like, and obviously, I guess I'm letting my respect for Matthew Tkachuk show here, but yeah, man, like I think he's more of a superstar than Quinn Hughes is. I think he might be more of a superstar than Nathan McKinnon is, even though those guys are better hockey players. When I think of like real ass stars, and some players, if you're so good, like a Connor McDavid, you don't need to have that bravado, and your skill and what you do will get enough headlines on its own. So, like,
Here,
Kachuk has it for having a little bit of everything. Some guys can have it just for being so good at hockey.
yeah, I think that there's one point here that is going to make that case, and it's TJ Oshie. TJ Oshie did one thing in an international competition one time on a huge stage, and for general hockey fans, that is like one of the 3 players that they would first name when they were like, "Hey, name a hockey player." It was that guy because of the thing that he did in the international arena. Now, for like starting Saturday on, Matthew Tkachuk or the Tkachuks, you can even throw Brady in there because of what they did together. The Tkachuks are going to be named as like in the first 3 to 5 players that like a general sports fan would know when it comes to the NHL.
Yeah, man, you're right. Like, both of their celebrity is just going to continue to skyrocket from this tournament. Okay, we don't have a slate grade because we just don't have it there. But there's 2 games today, and as you noted earlier, one of them maybe is happening as you're listening to this or watching this or whatever. But how do you think it shakes out? Canada, Finland, mainly. I think that Canada, Finland doesn't go down easily, but I think that Canada is going to be pissed. And there's no, hey, save it for Thursday. We didn't even talk about how Matthew Tkachuk probably isn't going to play on Monday against Sweden because they're saving it for, there's nothing to save for Thursday. They got to run over Finland, and I think they're gonna.
Yeah, I think there's like 2 outcomes here. It's Canada beats Finland by like 15 and they go into the final so pissed, or they lose. They could lose to Finland, and
Finland
this
wins
is
2
just
nothing.
an unbridled disaster for Canada. And I would I would love both outcomes. I could talk myself into it being awesome either way.
Yeah, I mean, man, I was going to say at the beginning when we were talking about the clinching scenarios, like it would be Canadian hockey these days if they were to not even be a runner-up. If they were to just lose in the prelims, how you say, because
Oops,
that's
all
what.
consolations.
Yeah, oops, right. And there's not even a consolation game in this tournament, which that might be my biggest new issue with the tournament, because they're probably like, oh, look, it's like an all-star game thing. We don't know how into it people are going to be. We won't schedule like I want to see whether it's Sweden, Finland, whether it's Canada, Sweden, whether like give me any more.
Yeah.
I would. No one shows up to the consolation game for the bean pot, but if Thursday there was like a 4:30 p.m. consolation game and an 8 o'clock final, hold my calls from 2:15 p.m. Eastern US until the end of the night, because I would be watching all of that.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't gotten a bad game in this tournament yet. So, like, who are we to turn down anymore?
Awesome. Well, this tournament has just been the gift that keeps on giving. Hopefully people will be hanging out with us. I know they will be. Monday, February 17th at Hurricanes across from the Garden. We're going to be streaming. We're going to be doing these post-game streams that I would say we've been doing, but when I've been away and my availability's just been so-so, Pete has been carrying them, and they've been absolutely amazing. I've been checking in and leaving comments and jumping in the chat and everything. It's been a real party. This has been such a fun tournament, and we've only got 2 more real, like, active days of it. So let's make them count, everybody. Pete, why don't you tell the folks to like and subscribe and do all that?
I would love to do that. Please, if you are not yet subscribed to the YouTube channel, you can do that. It doesn't cost you a goddamn thing. Just hit the subscribe button. You'll get all our videos and all that good stuff. Whenever we go live, you'll get those delivered straight to you. We very much appreciate it. Also, if you're listening on audio, go ahead, do that. And if you're watching on YouTube, go on audio. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify, all that good stuff. Wherever you can find us, please hang with us, consume our stuff. We love you. This is a great time for hockey.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We will be back with episode on Tuesday, and through the rest of the week, we'll be back to normal and everything. But in the meantime, we will see you at Hurricanes. Ta-ta, everyone.
We all silly like the mayor.